because just before I left, I was assembling rocket engines to the final stages, which was going to be lifted off in 10 days. So obviously, I was understanding things properly at that time. But the first few weeks, I still remember there was a valve, right? So all the rocket engines has a valve through which the fuel or the oxidizer enters the combustion chamber, and that is having a lot of different components like pogo characteristic valves and all. Basically, a proper flow of fuel and oxidizer into the combustion chamber. And they said that, oh, red one is fuel and the yellow one is oxidizer. So I thought that red one is a tank which is having fuel in it, and the yellow one is a tank which is having oxidizer in it. I later found out that is a giant valve. So when you think that, oh, valve, right, so it will be this big or something, but it was this big. So I was not knowing anything. Obviously, ISRO does not work like BARC, which is like a limitation of ISRO compared to BARC. In BARC, you are getting the 1 year proper training first, and then you are getting into the field. ISRO is like you're first getting into the assembly floor, and then like 10 months later, they gave us the proper training. But it is like on work, on foot kind of training. And I had a senior lady officer who was my boss at that time, and she over time taught me a lot of things. And I had people working under me who were technical assistants, who were all preparing for getting a B.Tech degree. Like they were also doing side-by-side graduation. So I used to teach them basic strength of material, thermodynamics, and they used to teach me rocket science. So that's the thing. Yeah, it does not matter what is your education level, what is your experience, that matters more. So yeah, that was like the first 2 months, I would say. I was not able to, I was falling asleep all the time the first 2 months, because when you do not understand anything, you kind of do not understand why I need to pay attention. For example, anybody over here, if you fall asleep, that is mostly my fault, because you are not able to get anything that I'm saying over here. That's why your attention is lost and then you fall asleep. So that's what happens to almost everybody who joins the organization. And first 2 months goes like this, that you do not understand anything. But I still remember it was August, and the deputy director came one day on meeting, and he said that now you're going to be working on this. And that's when you get the workload, then you have to learn. And that's when I started to learn. There were like 40 to 50 different tubes. So my career progression in ISRO went like, my first, like I said, that madam under whom I was working first, she was the in charge of the sub-assembly we call gas generator, or in short we say GG. What gas generator does is that it generates gas, right? More than that you don't need to know. It's a very important component. Honestly, I do not want to say much, because that's a thing that ISRO developed. What it exactly does, I don't want to talk more about that, because even the French, from which they made the Viking engine, and from that they made Vikas engine, they did not have the gas generator to the level that we are talking that ISRO is having right now. Anyways, so that is a subcomponent. So there were total 3 subcomponents: gas generator, turbopump, that is going to increase the pressure at which the fuel and oxidizer is going to be supplied to the combustion chamber, and the third one was just called accessories. So that's where the valve comes in, the pogo characteristic valves and all those small components comes in. So I was placed in the gas generator part, and I spent like 2 to 3 months learning more and more about gas generator. I used to make figures to understand where the flow is going, how many valves are there inside. There was 2 pistons inside and so many components. Like, it's a very intricate detail. And then I was not doing much over there because my boss was doing everything, and I was just learning. And then one day DD says that now you will be working with integration. So I talked about 3 sub-assemblies. I did not talk about integration, right? Integration is basically integration of all those 3 sub-assemblies. So you're basically making the final rocket engine, which is going to create power. And the reason I was sent over there was because the person who was doing all that passed away all of a sudden. He just passed away, and there was no vacancy over there. I mean, there was no one to fill that up. Obviously, there was a equivalent person as the madam that I was talking about, but he was very senior, so he won't be on foot. And over here in the gas generator, I had another person who was under the madam, so I was just like learning things. And over there, I had to do things, and that's when I started to learn things very rapidly. And that's where like there are so many, like 50 tubes and all. You have to know the name E10 and all that. You have to know the name of everything, because basically you have to understand Vikas engine as the back of your hand. Then only you will be able to produce an engine which is not going to explode on the launch pad. Okay, but there are a lot of different checks, right? So it's not like if I messed up, the engine is going to explode. Obviously, people need to understand a single scientist is not doing anything. There's a quality team, we call it QC, that is working continuously with us. When we take that engine, I mean, we don't take that in our backpack. Obviously, engine goes on a truck to Sriharikota. So from Mahindagiri to Sriharikota, it will go on a truck. And the problem is that even though the truck has a speed limit, the vibrations might cause few components to loosen up, and obviously we want to check all those things before we launch it. So that's what we will be doing in Sriharikota. So we will be checking the engine, which is now already assembled to the stage. So if you do not know, the giant part that you see is called the stage, which is going to having fuel inside it, right? So the fuel will be the largest part. Engine would be like, if this my hand is the stage, then engine would be just this big as my fist. That's it, at the bottom. So it was already assembled to the stage, and now we just check from the outside, do some pressure checks and some oil tests, and then we say that it is ready. And at that time also there's one person from the QC team who is checking the quality and all. So this is how my career was progressing in ISRO, and by the time I resigned, I had already gone to Sriharikota, I think 6 times to assemble these engines. So I had overseen at least 6 engine assemblies, and then 6 of these engines being assembled to stage just before the launch. So definitely before I left ISRO, I understood everything, but yeah, the first 2 months were very sleepy. I was very sleepy all the time. Yeah. But after that, it is difficult to fall asleep because everything is so interesting. And I found myself on the factory floor so many times, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And especially when you go to Sriharikota, because you have just 2 days to assemble 2 engines. And it's not a 9 to 5 anymore. You have to do it before you leave. And extension and all are out of the table, and even if it is a Saturday, it does not matter, you will be working. In Sriharikota, they had a building called SPB, I think. I don't remember its name properly, but I think it was stage preparation building. There's another building called the vehicle assembly building, which is the giant one, which you might have seen on televisions. So you see, there's an engine that will be assembled on a stage, and then that stage now has to be assembled with other stages. So there's levels. So people in Sriharikota are working towards like different stages being assembled. So different people come together to make a rocket fly off, right? I hope that that kind of answers your question, right?